All right, guys. Talking Gimmicks, number 5. Up and running. We are, I guess, the Backyard Wrestling podcasting. And officially, this is our last episode of our probationary period with the soon-to-be-named network. So, 5 weeks in a row, we've been going for it. What's up, guys? As always, with me, Julio, is our friends Joey and Ryan. What's up?
What's up, Julio? What's up, Joey?
Hey, guys.
Not much for me.
Good to talk to you.
Looking forward to talking some wrestling.
Talk some wrestling today. Yeah, we've got a lot going on in terms of things we are going to cover. I know we will start usually with our just basic, kind of just talking about random wrestling happenings, anything that draws our attention. And then we'll have our retro wrestling, which was selected by Ryan, Clash of Champions 24, the debut of the Shockmaster, which every time I watch that, and we'll get into it, every time I watch it. So. And then we've got Chikara Rex, King of Sequel, Night 1, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yes.
So Joey, get us started. What's going on? What's caught your attention in the world of wrestling these past days?
Well, I don't really watch Raw this week. Did you guys catch Raw at all?
I have been a horrible wrestling watcher this week.
Raw's been they're going through, and it always happens, they finish SummerSlam and WrestleMania and all that, and then they go through this funk between, the fall and, Royal Rumble. It's like the pattern they follow. There's kind of a funk where, nothing really is going on, and then Royal Rumble, and then, you go to Road to WrestleMania, and it starts getting interesting. And so I've kind of been out of it. All I've been hearing is these rumblings about Goldberg coming back. I don't know if you guys caught them.
I'm not by way.
Yeah, I'm not really excited. I know the video game WWE 2K17's got a lot to do with it, with him being involved with that. So I know they're setting up him versus Lesnar at Survivor Series, I think. I really can care less at this point.
Yeah, I mean, with him, he was never really a great wrestler. But I think the best part of his whole thing is that entrance. The theme and the cops and the sparklers, and then he blows the smoke out of the nose. That entrance in the song is always been really cool. But other than that, I mean, I'm not really too stoked. I might just tune in to see the entrance, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some nostalgia. He'll get points for that.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
No, for sure. I think a lot of people around our age, were caught up in the middle of the Monday Night Wars, and Goldberg was kind of the trump card, if you will, the WCW tried to play, but eventually, kind of fizzled out. But so that's been hearing a little bit of hype about that. The other thing I've kind of been reading about is this whole Del Rio Page thing.
I don't know what to take about that, It's almost like, no, he's no longer with the company, but it seems like she's trying to get out of there.
Yeah, I think I saw some stuff about WWE saying she wasn't hurt, and then some Del Rio leaking a text about her being hurt. I don't know which, and I saw you tweeted about that, Joey. I don't know what doctor texts you that way. Oh yeah, here's how here's your diagnosis, right?
Yeah, right. And there was some spelling errors and stuff like that. So it didn't really seem like it would be truly from a doctor. So I don't know what they're trying to pull there.
Weird.
Yeah, I think it's some weird stuff. It's kind of interesting because of all the drama, but I mean, I've always thought Del Rio was a really good in-ring guy, but he just never really quite fit in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not a good guy. Uh,
Yeah, I'm still kind of bummed. Last year, I think last year, 2014, before he came back to WWE, he was supposed to do a show in Houston, and I brought my Del Rio figure for it to get signed. And he disappeared that weekend. Like, no one knew where he was. And then he, like, tweeted out that he was in Mexico and he had a family emergency or some shit like that. So it was kind of a bummer. And speaking of people disappearing, the other kind of piece of info, y'all been following that whole Matt Sydal thing in Japan?
Yeah, man, that's really crazy.
Ryan, you been following that?
I'm uninformed.
Looks
So
like
he's been disappearing on and off like the past, I would say, weeks. But apparently they busted
Disappearing
him
is in like no showing.
Yeah, like he was supposed to be in a show in Japan, and he didn't show. And then apparently he said it was because of an issue with his passport or something. You know, so stuff like that. And ultimately, it's kind of gotten to the point where he's been busted in Japan with marijuana. Is that correct, Jay?
yeah, it was like the oil in like some sort of one of those little pen gimmicks.
It's crazy because I mean they are pretty zero tolerance over there in Japan.
They were saying that it's possible that he could face like a ban from Japan for wrestling for life.
Dude, yeah,
they
if not jail time,
seriously.
you know? Yeah,
right.
If not jail time, so
it's no joke over there with that kind of situation.
It's really not. They take it really serious. So I know that he actually retweeted a couple like free Matt Sydal tweets. So I don't know. He has access to a phone somehow right now, but
or someone has access to his account.
Somebody might. That's true. Because he said he was in Hawaii the whole time. Like, I got held up with the border, so I'm in Hawaii right now, even though he was truly, you know, in Japan.
In detention?
Allegedly, I guess, let's say. I mean, I don't know. I can't really confirm any of this, you know. But that's what's out there right now.
This is a right.
You know, that's what's going around.
Interesting. Well, I hope he gets out because, you know, certainly.
It's strict rules over
there.
No
reason to lose your freedom.
Yeah, that's it's just one of those crazy things. Like, you know, we talk about wrestling and like the shows and stuff, but then it's like, you know, we're the wrestlers. It's kind of one of those things like this is a kind of a human interest more kind of the story than anything else. Particularly with how different, you know, how we're in the States much more free about that kind of stuff. It's not as taboo, and in Japan, it's kind of very much different. So yeah, that's kind of what I've kind of seen pop up and around. Following some of the New Japan stuff that, you know, we've got for sure signed. Main event, Kenny Omega and Okada, which is probably going to be really good. Pretty stoked about that. They did the whole, you know, kind of a press conference and all that jazz, and you know, Okada showing up in his like a sports car of some sort, looking fly as hell. And I don't know, it's gonna be a good match. I'll probably be rooting for Okada. Like I think I mentioned last week, I'm not a big fan of Kenny Omega as the cleaner, but you know, I know a lot of people are. And I think they're starting to. I think the tickets go on sale for Wrestle Kingdom the 25th. So they've got one more big show, and then Wrestle Kingdom. So pretty stoked about that too.
Nice.
Joey, what else you got?
Just a little bit of Evolve news. Last night, October 15th, Saturday, for those at home, Evolve 70 took place down in Florida. The Gatekeepers, which is Blaster McMassive and Flex Rumble Crunch, were in action. Their debut match, they defeated Bunk and Funk, who I'm not sure exactly who those guys are, but they won real quick. So good to see them down there. And then later in the night, All Ego Ethan Page had the title shot against Timothy Thatcher. And he fell short of the match, but he said he's got a plan to get the title down the line. So that should be interesting. Chris Hero defeated Drew Gulak. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Hot Sauce Tracy Williams. Matt Riddle defeated AR Fox. So, I mean, they got a lot of talent and involved right now. So, if you're not checking those guys out, you definitely should be.
That's what's up. Did they get 2 shows down there this weekend, or was it just one?
There's one. Yeah, there's actually one going on right now too.
Okay, yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
There would be 2 shows.
Yep.
Yeah, I've always been doing some interesting stuff. I like their whole, all these gimmicks about, you know, it seems like they want to push it more as kind of an athletic contest, you know, in the background, the fighters, like kind of like the little video packages you would see from like the UFC fight where they like talk about the fighter's background and history and all that stuff. So I think that's really cool that they're doing that way. And I mean, like you said, they don't have any shortage of good guys down there in terms of in-ring abilities. So for sure, definitely worth checking it out. Anything else, guys?
I got nothing.
Did you guys catch Lucha Underground? Because I don't watch that, but I know you guys.
I normally would, but I haven't caught it this week.
Lucha's been kind of in a funk. I feel also like I haven't really. I don't know. I just didn't really, you know, the past couple of weeks didn't really get into, you know, trying to catch up. I know they're trying to move storylines and stuff, but what's been there? I mean, Chavo Guerrero was in the main event with Rey Mysterio and Pentagon Dark. You know, Sexy Star and Jack Evans. I mean, it's been good, but like they came out the gate the first 2 or 3 episodes like really like on fire, and right now it's kind of hitting that lull in the season, and we're kind of just waiting for something big to happen. That's kind of how I feel, and particularly a lot of the events that I saw haven't really happened either. And I know there's a lot of storyline development that's pending in this season. So, you know, I've still been watching. The action's still good. I mean, it's still entertaining, but nothing really spectacular this week.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. So, the one last thing. I don't know if we talked about it last week. No, I think we did. The Bret Hart apology. Did we talk about that last week?
I don't think so.
No? We may have. I think we texted about it, but we didn't talk about it. You know, Bret Hart issuing an apology, and he's going to stop doing this podcast soon. So like,
really,
yeah, to some of the WWE people he had talked about, like Seth Rollins and others. And his apology was pretty long, but it was like, you know, he kind of, I guess someone made him see it, or he saw it, that he was coming off as like really bitter and resentful, and he doesn't want to be portrayed like that because he's not like that. So he apologized and he said to stop. So good for him.
I thought it was kind of interesting because he blamed it kind of like on the medium of podcasting. Like he said that podcasting was about negativity. That kind of blew my mind because, I listen to a lot of positive podcasts. So,
that's a really good
who's
point.
to say where the negativity comes from?
It's a really good point. I mean, like any medium, you can make of it what you want. It could be a positive outlet, you know, negative outlet, whatever. I just felt like he got a little comfortable with, you know, shooting on his podcast and stuff, and kind of liked it. So he just kind of stepping away. But yeah, I do think it's kind of like a little bit of a a little bit of a bad excuse to blame it on the medium.
Yeah.
You know. So no, that's a really good point. But hopefully we'll be, you know, just because Brett's the man. Like I don't want to hate Brett, and I think he has enough general stock in terms of people liking him for what he did in ring that they'll let a lot of that slide. So
yeah.
All right, cool. So if that's what we've got, again, I think it's been another slow week. We're not really doing all the deep cut type. You know, I know folks watch all sorts of stuff.
There's actually one other thing I was just thinking of.
Okay.
Billy Corgan reportedly suing TNA. Allegedly.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of going on right now too.
Yeah. This past couple of weeks, like the most relevant things have been like all the scoops that are going on. Like in-ring stuff, there hasn't been really anything I've been blown, like I've been excited about. So we'll see how that ends up. I don't think that'll end up pretty. So hopefully it's still that's the only thing I want. And it would be cool if Billy's running it and kind of Dixie moves on, because I know a lot of negative stuff is tied to what she's done. So we'll see. All right, cool. So for the next segment, you want to start with retro?
Let's do it.
Let's do retro.
Let's do it.
So Ryan picked. Really, this is a gem in the WCW catalog, and it's Clash of the Champions 24. So we're going back to that 93. Yeah, August 18th, 1993, out of Daytona Beach. So for those, newer wrestling fans, kind of Clash of the Champions was one of these things that it was kind of like a pay-per-view, but it was on TBS. So it wasn't like, the Nitro or whatever. It was its own thing, but it was on TV. You didn't have to pay for it, which I thought was cool. That was one of the things that I'd be like, oh, man, WCW is hooking it up with Clash of Champions for free. WWE makes us pay $40, $50 to get the pay-per-view. So it was something I always looked forward to. And I remember I watched this one as a kid. I was like 8, 9 years old when this happened. And it was insane. Like when I watched this to prep for the show, it like just brought me back to those days. It was really fun. It was a really good pick. So, we start with the arena view, all that good stuff in Florida, and it's Tony Schiavone and Jesse the Body Ventura calling the action, which is an interesting pairing. I thought that was a pretty, I like both.
Yeah.
On the microphone, I think both are all right.
I like Jesse the Body, so that was a plus for me.
Yeah, Jesse was rocking like the gnarliest Jimi Hendrix tie-dye T-shirt too, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. And we jump into the action. It's Hollywood Blondes. For those not aware, that was Steve Austin's former life before he became Stone Cold. He was one half of the Hollywood Blondes with Flying Brian Pillman, which is the funniest thing ever. I feel like, everyone, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he transcended the medium or whatever, and we associate, Steve Austin's Stone Cold, the Stone Cold podcast. But you go back and look at these little moments where he's doing, the little camera thing. He's supposed to be playing up as this Hollywood guy. It feels so weird, right?
Yeah, it definitely feels forced, and it's something Stone Cold always, he believes in that, like the strongest gimmicks are just extensions of your own personality, and that Stunning Steve is not the real Steve Austin.
And you said a really good word there, like, it's forced. I feel like he's trapped, like they're making him do that gimmick and he's trying to make it work, but he's trapped. So it's really interesting to see him go from that to, Stone Cold in the WWF and just explode. So they were supposed to go up against two of the Horsemen, which were, of course, Arn Anderson of the traditional classic Horsemen. And then a guy that I had forgotten about, and I'd forgotten that he was a Horseman, Paul Roma, who was, even watching him today, he was like the shorter version of Sting. He had that, I felt like he had a similar physical build, and he had the little splash and all that stuff. It was very similar. Yeah. And then apparently they kayfabe into the story that Pillman can't wrestle, so they're making Steve Austin team up with William Regal, which I thought was cool. And one of the things about Regal, and I'll say about when I was a kid, I used to think he was like the worst. I hated William Regal. I thought he sucked, and he's such a good wrestler, dude. Like he's so good.
Yeah, that, I mean, I was really excited, and I think when I was going through the card, trying to choose an retro episode, that was something that caught my eye. I was like, oh man, we get to see Steve Austin and Steve Regal. Like,
Really.
wow, I'm down for this team of Steves.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. The Horsemen were wearing these like corny spray brush T-shirts that said Four Horsemen and had a little like silhouette of a horse running, like the kind of shit you could buy at like if you go to a carnival and there's these dudes spray brushing like
Airbrush or whatever.
airbrushing Mickey Mouse with like their name on it and some shit like that. I'm legit gonna take a screenshot of that T-shirt and I'm gonna go to like wherever they do that and like make me one of these. I'm legit gonna do that. Anyways, interesting match. I mean, it was. Did you catch, by the way, Ryan, when they I think Arn Anderson had tossed Steve Austin over the top rope, and Ventura started saying that should have been a disqualification.
Yeah.
So back in that WCW time frame, that was like legit. You couldn't do that, and I had forgotten about that too. And it's just like the weirdest thing that you get, like just to think, yeah, you can get disqualified if you throw someone off over the top rope. It was so weird.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because, it doesn't stop like Rey Mysterio from doing some kind of like he can do a springboard over the top rope or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Or like Too Cold Scorpio that we'll talk about. He does a couple of like presses over the top rope to the outside. And like, is he disqualifying himself or what? It's like one of those.
It's never good to get too analytical about the rules in pro wrestling. I've learned this lesson because sometimes I just can't get a satisfying answer.
True. And I think, I think it had something to do with like the person who was booking WCW at this time. Because I think I saw it in an interview. Was it Bill Watts? He was trying to make it like old school, more of a athletic competition, and he thought that all this flippy stuff was like killing the product or whatever. So interesting. The match was kind of back and forth. Nothing really too crazy. It winds up the ending. The guy that I forget, Sir William, the guy that was with Regal, was trying to hand over one of the crutches to Steve Austin. He misses hitting Steve Austin and then gets rolled up by Horseman. Horseman the tag belts. All good. They cut a little promo there at the end. I always felt like once the Horsemen started adding all these weird people into the Horsemen, that it was just not really working for me.
It's one of those things, like trying to pass on some kind of a thing, like, oh, he's a new part of the group. I don't know how. I mean, we've seen it play out so many times and in so many different ways in wrestling, but I think every time it's kind of like that for me. I'm like, really?
Yeah, because with the Horsemen, they tried Barry Windham, they tried Paul Roma, they tried Chris Benoit. They had a Mongo Michael, I think, was in the Horsemen for a little bit. And I mean, not a detriment to those guys, but the Horsemen is Tully, Arn, Ric Flair, and J.J. Dillon. That's the line.
Right.
I think I kind of compare it like if you grab the Rolling Stones and you take out Keith Richards and you try to throw in another guitarist,
Oh, it's like seeing Queen nowadays, I mean, it's no offense to the people filling in for Freddie Mercury, but it's like, that's not the band.
Right. And I think with a group as iconic as the Horsemen, it kind of has that same feeling.
Yeah.
So we move on to the next match. It's Too Cold Scorpio, who we saw at King of Trios this year? Last year.
No.
Last year. He was at Rey Voladores.
Must have been last year. Yeah, he's definitely Rey Voladores. I can't remember.
It was in like the Mark Andrews match, I want to say.
Maybe. Last year.
Yeah, it might have been last year.
I think it was last year.
I'm looking it up.
And he was going up against beautiful Bobby Eaton, which, I mean, I get it, but I always thought it was like, it was like so because the dude is not a good looking dude, right? Bobby Eaton is kind of, and I don't know, it just always sounded funny when they would call him that. It still does. So, anyways, this was an all right match. They talked a little bit about how both of these guys were kind of high flyers in their own right. But Too Cold, and I remember watching Too Cold Scorpio as a kid, and like he was like blowing my mind with some of the stuff he would do, because you didn't see a lot of the stuff he would do back then, right?
No, I mean, yeah, he's an innovative guy. That's why he earned his way into the Raid of Villadores. I thought that was really exciting to get to see him, and it was 2015. Yeah, man, it's always good to see him perform.
Yeah, it was a cool match, and he finishes the match with a 450 splash that I think his knee hits Bobby Eaton in the face, because I think Jesse the Body Ventura even calls it out that, oh, his knee caught him in the face. God knows what happened. What, blah, 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 blah. Another fun little match, nothing really crazy. There was couple little, presses to the outside, some high flying moves. It was all right.
Yeah, he did a 450 splash, for the win.
Yeah, and I remember he was the first guy I saw do that kind of stuff. Like, this 450 splash being his finish, and I was like, damn. I think he tagged up with Marcus Bagwell for a while. They were tag partners in WCW around this time frame. Because I remember I used to think they were a pretty cool tag team. And there was a time when I thought Buff Bagwell was cool. That was like before he became Buff. And when he was just Marcus Bagwell, I thought he was pretty cool. The next match is kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
We get this guy that I've completely forgotten about, who goes by the name Max Payne with 2 X's. And he's like this like rocker kind of gimmick. He's a big dude, like kind of looks like Bam Bam Terry Gordy from the Freebirds, kind of. And he's going up against Johnny B. Bad, who I do remember, of course, who had that whole Little Richard type gimmick going. And there was some sort of bet going on. Like apparently Max Payne had put his guitar up.
Yeah, supposedly played by Jimi Hendrix or whatever.
Yeah. Against Johnny B. Bad's mask, right?
Yeah.
Dude, man. Max Payne that's one of those little nuggets of that, one of those little time capsules that you go back and you look and you're like, oh man, this is so lame. But I'm pretty sure when they came up with it, they thought it was like the coolest shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure someone enjoyed it. But, like, did you no-sell Max Payne when you were a kid?
I totally know.
Like, oh, you love this guitar.
I don't even.
Bad Blaster.
I don't even remember that guy.
Yeah.
There was another guy that was a better rocker in WCW. You guys remember Van Hammer?
Yeah,
I don't.
Van Hammer was a guy who had the whole rock gimmick that I thought he was cool. Max Payne did not look like he was in a rock band. That was, I guess, why I know so much.
Yeah.
He looks like more like a club bouncer or something. Like he was working the door at the rock club that,
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it didn't match his gimmick, right?
Yeah.
No.
That's the whole point.
It was a
this match ends in the corniest way. Did you catch that ending, Ryan?
The way it ended?
Yeah.
Yeah, he missed like a big splash from the second rope, and he scored the pinfall.
It was so lame. Like he goes for this big old splash, misses it. Johnny Gat kind of just like rolls over, puts his arm on top of him, and wins.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Okay, yeah.
That was within.
It's kind of laughable. Yeah, sorry, I didn't keep good notes on this episode.
Oh, dude, it was that was bad. It was like a 5-minute match. And there was one little spot where Max Payne thinks he ripped his Johnny Dad's mask off, but he had another mask under it. It was really goofy. This was one of those matches when you're like, it was up until here. This is the point in the show that I'm like, oh shit, yeah, this is 1983 WCW. It's gonna be goofy as hell.
Yeah, well, because then he says in the interview that he's going to unmask the following week. So it was like, all right, even if he had lost, even if he had been unmasked, doesn't matter because he's going to unmask himself.
Yeah, like if
I thought that just added insult to injury.
And again, it's one of those things, like you said, you can't really think too much about it. Because like a normal human being would be like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to show up to Clash of Champions, and I'll wait for you to unmask next week. Is that cool? You know? But, you know, it's one of those things that goes back to like wrestling logic, especially wrestling logic of this time frame. Yeah, it's kind of fun, you know, right? Looking at the wrestling. So then we get to the best part, like the reason you picked this show.
No, it's not the reason. I didn't know until I had already chosen it.
Well, this is in my opinion the best part of the show.
It is the best part.
We go to Flair for the Gold, which used to be Ric Flair's little talk show segment, kind of like Piper's Pit or Jericho's Highlight Reel. And it's in like this cheesy like morning TV, like Good Morning America type set.
Yeah, I love it.
I know, and he walks in, and it's the Nature Boy, and, you know, I love the Nature Boy. And he has a French maid called Fifi, which is like, it's like, okay, yeah, let's go with that. And, you know, he makes Fifi do a little twirl for the public, for the crowd. It's a little bit, I don't know.
Misogynistic, like, little exploitation going on.
Yeah, it's one of those things that compared to some shit that's happened in WWE, you would say it's not that bad, but it's still
right. But they couldn't.
Yeah, it's still kind of bad, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Anyways, he walks in. You know, he's being the Nature Boy, amped up. By the way, I would totally be down for like Nature Boy hosting Good Morning America. Like, I would so be down for that.
That would be wild.
So he introduces first his guest. I guess it was supposed to be his only guest, which is Sting, British Bulldog, and they were coming over to like hype up the whole Fall Brawl War Games match against Psycho Sid City. And, you know, they're wearing, Sting and the Bulldog are wearing matching jackets, like red, white, and blue sequins. Yeah. And Sting has a scorpion on the back, and Bulldog has a bulldog on the back. Legit super corny. It's all good though, right?
They're amped up. I mean, it's a big night. They got flashy outfits. There's nothing wrong with anything up until this point. It's totally. I'm on board.
I'm on board too. You know, even Bulldog's like, I think Sting makes a comment like, "Yeah, we're cooking tonight, Nature Boy," and Bulldog says that he's cooking like 15 times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He pulls a Lance Storm kind of. The thrill seekers are here.
Yeah, that was the word of the day. They said.
Yeah,
dude, we're cooking was because he goes, Sting is cooking, Nature Boy's cooking, and Florida's cooking.
Sting goes, woo! He just kind of has to like sell that because he doesn't want him to just fall on his face there. That was really weird.
That was really weird. It felt like, you know, I felt like the British Bulldog was like that dad that goes to like Coachella and is trying to get everyone amped or something. Like he goes with his 17-year-old and he's trying to get everyone hyped. Yeah. That's how it felt. It was very odd.
There's some kind of cultural divide going on. But I mean, even still, they keep up. You know, the segment keeps moving along.
And you're like, all right, this is kind of the time and place. This was the time frame. This kind of interaction was normal.
High energy promos.
Yeah. All of a sudden, we got Psycho Sid, Harlem Heat.
And Harlem Heat.
who's that? The Colonel.
Colonel Parker.
Colonel
right?
Parker.
Yeah.
Colonel Parker.
Colonel Parker.
They interrupt. And Nature Boy is like, y'all need to leave, but I'm not going to get in this fight. And he kind of walks to the back.
Right, and Psycho Sid just starts yelling.
Man,
Ric Flair, he says, wait a minute, they're about to tell you who their tag team partner is, but Sid is so focused on yelling that they are stupid because they haven't revealed who their tag team partner is.
And then Bulldog starts
so it's like he wants
back.
to hear it. Yeah. It just, things start getting out of hand, and it's hard to tell if they're filling time because they don't know what's about to happen, or like why they're. It seems like the situation's really out of control at this moment.
Yeah, I can imagine because I think Dusty Rhodes is booking at this time, and I know if you guys go back and look at that Legends of Wrestling, they do a little blurb, and I mentioned it last week. They do a little blurb about how Dusty explains how this whole thing went down. That's a good must-see after this for you guys, just to get the insight. But anyways, it felt like the wheels were coming off the bus at this point, right?
Yes.
Bulldog and Psycho Sid are yelling at each other, getting into like who yells the loudest. And then Sting, I think Nature Boy goes, well, Sting, why don't you tell him who your partner is? And Sting goes like, this is for me, might be better than the actual, because Sting is like all cool about it, like, oh man, you guys just see. All I have to say is that our partner is gonna shock the world because he's none other than the Shockmaster. And Sting's like selling it so good. Sting is selling it like, like Babe Ruth of wrestling was gonna come through that wall. And
boom! You hear the flash. You hear the explosion. You see the flash. And here comes the Shockmaster right through drywall, and he flips, lands on all fours. His Stormtrooper helmet, which has been spray painted with glitter, falls off of his head, and you hear Jesse in the background saying, "Oh no." He said, "I told you." You can hear people in the back in the production just like, oh,
sighing,
no. Yeah, like this has gone terribly, terribly wrong.
And the crowd dies. Like when he falls down, the crowd doesn't know what to do. And
right, because they don't even have the clarity to see that the dude's wearing a Stormtrooper helmet or anything. You can't tell what's going on, and this is one of those things. This was taped in Orlando in front of an audience, is my understanding. Like this was not.
Was this not live?
I don't know how this segment thing works, but when they pull away, they're not there in the arena. This doesn't take place inside the ring like the highlight reel does.
Yeah, you're like it's on like kind of its own little set, right?
Yeah. So it might not be actually in front of the audience, but
no, I just looked it up right now. It says on Flair for the Gold, an interview segment hosted by Ric Flair in front of a live audience at Clash of the Champions 24.
Yeah, so I don't understand how they did that. I was reading some stuff about the way that they taped this stuff in this period of.
Yo, Ryan, I think we lost you.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't have much to go from there. The Shockmaster, as it has just now, totally derails the rest of Clash of Champions.
Dude, I'm reading kind of like a little transcript of like what you can hear in the background, and you can hear in the background one of the Harlem Heat say, "Who is this motherfucker?" and Davey Boy goes, "He fell flat on his ass." And apparently those were audible for the live audience, and they were bleeped out afterwards.
Wow. I love it. Yeah, it's just it's a moment of slapstick comedy gold when he falls. The whole gimmick itself, like he's using a voice changer to then like go back and forth. Sid just kind of takes over, I guess, from that point and goes back to the yelling thing, and he goes, "I don't care who you are, boy." And you know, the Shockmaster, he's got his voice changer and it is a spray painted Stormtrooper helmet. I can't imagine who thought that was a good idea. To do that.
You know whose voice is that, like, distorted voice? Ole Anderson.
Really?
He did the Shockmaster voice. And
wow.
I just remembered one of the little snippets from the Dusty Road when he's talking about this. So apparently they had done a test run through that wall, through like a drywall, and it worked out. And David Crockett put that little piece of wood under it for the second one and didn't tell anyone.
Right.
Like, it's just one of those moments that, of course, there's like great moments in wrestling, but it's an iconic moment in wrestling. Like, people don't forget this.
It's a perfect storm. I mean, so many things went wrong to produce like something. I generally don't like to celebrate things that are, I'm just like, oh, it's so bad. But like, this is bad. But when I watched it, I laughed for like 45 seconds at least, just straight.
Dude,
I couldn't get over it.
I was laughing at the point when Sting starts doing the introduction. That's when I started laughing.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was legit. And I think, like you mentioned, this is where the whole show is like now derailed. Like this is
the body never recovers from it. I mean, that's like the rest of the commentary is just him, you know, making jokes about entrances and how shocking they can be.
Oh man, but it was very surreal. Every time I watch it's really like a surreal moment.
Yeah.
But anyways, we move on back to the action. You got Steamboat, Rick the Dragon Steamboat against Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. And Michael Buffer's doing the intros, which I thought was really cool that he did the intros in the show. Michael Buffer is, you know, his claim to fame as being the boxing announcer who used to say, let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool. Every time he would show up at a wrestling event, I always felt it gave it like legitimacy that he was there doing the intros.
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, that's such a nostalgic thing for me to hear him say that.
Yeah. And then, you know, this was a pretty good match. They start with a fighting on the ramp, the entrance ramp, which, by the way, I love. I always loved having that the ramp walked in straight to the ring. Like back in that time frame, I think like New Japan had something similar. And fighting on the ramp is like the best thing ever. So I pop when they start fighting on the entrance ramp. Good little back and forth, nothing too crazy. And then again, another little roll-up slide type pin from Steamboat to kind of steal the win, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some more. Go ahead.
It was just some, you know, two competent wrestlers. I mean, that's a solid match.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't too pleased with how it ended, but I think that was like they used that a lot in that time to kind of protect people, right?
I don't mind roll-up wins at all.
You don't?
I really don't. To me, it's satisfying because it's just, I mean, it keeps the idea that, you know, from match to match, anything can happen. You can get a win on someone just by surprising them at a particular time, throwing them off their balance for 2-3 seconds. You know, I mean, it's just the count of three, and that's all it takes.
I like it when it's a heel or an underdog face who pull it off. That's when I think it's more satisfying to me. But really? When it's like,
see, for me, it's for me the best time is like if Quack can just roll you up and just be like, just surprise you, throw you off a game.
I mean, I think if there's a lot of high spots in the match,
I'd take it from an ice cream.
You know, if there's too many high spots and not enough selling, then I don't really like it. You know, But it depends on the match, I guess, too. I don't really have a problem with it. After this match, though, Orndorff pile drive Steamboat on the TV title on the ramp, too. So
Yeah, I popped for that, too.
that was kind of cool.
Yeah. After that, we get Harley Race and the Colossal Cons, which I have LOL next to their name because I think it's a fun name.
Yeah.
And Michael Buffer again introducing them, and they go up against Sting and Ric Flair.
Yeah, NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
This seemed an unlikely tag team.
Yeah,
I know. They talk about it briefly in Flair for the Gold. It was a short match, super short.
Yeah, very.
2 minutes 14 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah, squash. It was basically a squash match.
Yeah, it was just to get you hyped to see those two.
Yeah,
I guess it did hype the crowd up, man.
It's like when the first Avengers movie, when they had all these shitty villains, but they were just throwing them out there so the Avengers could look cool.
All right.
That's
Do you think they were sent out there to like kind of overcome the Shockmaster thing?
Maybe they were intending that match to be further down the card.
Well, originally this was supposed to be Awesome Kong versus Sting, or Awesome King, or whatever it is.
One of the Colossal Kong?
Yeah, Colossal Kongs, or whatever it says. But after a Flair race, dude, this notes I'm reading says Awesome Kong.
That's hilarious.
I didn't write it though. But
no, it is Awesome Kong though.
It is Awesome Kong, right?
Awesome Kong and King Kong. The tag team is the Colossal Kongs.
Oh, so it is Awesome Kong. Okay.
Indeed.
It looks like it was supposed to be Awesome Kong versus Sting at first, but after a Flair race altercation on Saturday night, Flair offered Sting an NWA World Title match later on if he joined him to take on both Kongs. So that's what ended up happening there.
Cool.
So, yeah, quick match, 2-minute match, squash match.
Yep. Next matchup, we got Rick Rude and the Equalizer, who's this cowboy-looking dude, against the artist formerly known as Dustin Rhodes, who's now currently known as Goldust. Originally, it was supposed to be Animal from the Road Warriors, and he pulled in the Chimera that they were trying to sell. They spent the whole event like, yeah, you can win a Chimera. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was like a switcheroo. It wasn't Animal. It was Hawk who kind of popped out from the background. This was a pretty good match. I used to think Dustin Rhodes was pretty legit when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the pedigree, you know.
The natural. And also, I'm always a big fan of wrestlers who have wrestling boots that look like cowboy boots. And Dustin was rocking those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was still playing the cowboy vibe, you know, riding the legacy a little bit.
And the match ends in a really weird way. The Equalizer's about to body slam Dustin Rhodes. Hawk jumps off the ropes and knocks him over. And when he lands on his back and Dustin Rhodes is on top, Dustin Rhodes gets the pin. That's how that match ends. Another weird early 90s finish.
Yeah.
And then we get to our main, right? Vader with Harley Race against the British Bulldog. They start mixing it up on the ramp, which I'm always a proponent of. Pretty physical match. It was pretty good. I thought I was better than I remembered.
I got nothing.
Yeah, pretty good
Yeah,
match.
I mean,
yeah, it was a pretty good match. Then it has another weird finish too, where Vader is trying to go off the top rope, Bulldog catches him. There's a ref bump in the whole process. Bulldog power slams him, goes for the pin. The ref's out, so he doesn't win. And then he's going to go to suplex Vader, and Harley Race pulls, kind of like clips his knee, the Bulldog's knee. So Vader falls on top of him and gets the pin. And then we get a Cactus Jack run-in at the end, and there's some more fighting on the mat between Cactus Jack and Vader, who always had some pretty good, legit fights. And that's that. That's it. By the way, it's $149 if you want to call in to try to win that Camaro. $1.49 per call.
Wow.
Dude, $1.99 and $1.49 in 1993 is not cheap. Especially if you're a 10-year-old kid or an 8-year-old kid. Like
even right now, honestly, that doesn't sound appealing.
No. So that's that. Any final thoughts on Clash of Champions 24?
You know, it's got more than just the Shockmaster. It's got some decent matches, but watch for the Shockmaster if nothing else.
Yeah, it'll always be the Clash of Champions with the whole Shockmaster fiasco. But Bulldog Vader was pretty decent. Orndorff, Ricky Steamboat was all right. Too Cold Scorpio, Bobby Eaton wasn't bad. I mean, for one of these shows from the 90s, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Overall. Joey, any other thoughts?
Pretty good show. The Shockmaster, like you're saying. I feel like if that didn't happen and he just would have came through the wall regular, I mean, we probably wouldn't be talking about it today. You know?
Right.
So I think it's kind of good that happened for him in a way. I mean, I could be wrong, though, because it's going to live on forever, that moment. As opposed to, like, him coming through the wall and just, like, regular.
Would you rather be, like, not remembered or remembered for something like that, right?
Yeah, because he's still doing, like, cons and shit, because he was at a con this past weekend in Jersey.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's still working. And like we said on the past episode that they had the San Diego Comic-Con Shockmaster Mattel Elite figure from that moment. So, I mean, it's going to live on forever.
It's quite awesome.
It's a cool moment.
Cool. All right, let's move into our Chikara show of the week, which, who picked this, by the way? I forget.
I did. Real quick, though, what's the retro episode for next week?
Oh, yeah. I'm picking, just to switch it up a little bit, we're going to do an ECW pay-per-view, Barely Legal 97, which has, I think there's a Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, and Stevie Richards three-way, and the winner goes on to face Raven, who's the champ.
Perfect.
So that's what I'm picking. All right, cool. So Chikara, the Chikara episode, you picked it. Chikarasaurus Rex King of Sequel Night 1 from 2011. Joey, you want to take the lead on that?
Yeah, this is part of the 12 Large Summit tournament, which was to crown the first ever Chikara Grand Champion. So a bunch of these matches in the show, or a couple anyway, were from that tournament. Reading, PA, the show was in. Yeah, season 10. Gavin Loudspeaker, Tim Donst, and Leonard F. Chikarason, and Eddie Kingston on commentary.
Yeah, Eddie's always fun.
I love Eddie on commentary, man. He's funny. So first match, 12 Large Summit tournament match. Block B, Jigsaw, 0 points versus Fire Ant, 0 points. Pretty good opening match. Two Chikara originals.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny going back and looking at these matches. Like, Fire Ant is so slim. You know? And he's still kind of slim, but he's put on muscle, I feel.
Yeah, same as like we were talking about last time with Dasher.
Yeah,
I feel like both of them have definitely gotten a little bigger.
Dude, and we'll talk about it later, but Green Ant is another one. On this card, he's so slim.
Yeah. So pretty good match.
Brian gets the win there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, short key lock to Jigsaw's bad arm. Jigsaw's got no choice but to tap out at 11 minutes, 40 seconds. Great way to kick off the show. High energy bout with 2 fan favorites. Great simple story.
Yeah, exactly. It was a simple story,
Yeah.
I mean, focus on the arm. They played it well. It was some good, high flying stuff like you expect to see from those guys, and it's a really solid match.
Yeah. Next match we got, which is this. I like when Jakob Hammer or Hammermeyer, whatever you want to call him, does his own entrance. I think that's actually really funny.
Jakob is a funny dude.
He's really funny, dude. Yeah. So he BDK member, so he comes out first, I think. Yeah. And he comes out, introduces himself, runs to the back, theme hits, comes back out in the ring as a heel. Crowd's chanting USA, mind you, with USA. And they have USA flags for something that's going to happen later on in the show that we'll get to later. But a lot of USA chants early on. And then his opponent was Gregory Iron. Pretty cool to see him in Chikara.
Yeah.
This match wasn't very long.
No.
Ultraman Black gets involved.
He's rocking the sweet track jacket too, right?
Yeah, he was rocking the UMB jacket. Ultraman Black runs out, gives Hammermeyer the praying mantis bomb, places Iron on top of him, and gets out of there. Papa Giorgio recovers, makes the count, giving Iron the win in 2 minutes. So that was a real quick match. And the man is saying him taking out Hammermeyer was a message for the BDK leader, Aries. He promises to deliver him the message month after month until Aries stops running and faces him again in the singles match.
Cool.
So the next match, Eddie Kingston versus Adam Cole.
A baby Adam Cole. He's like really young in that.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Adam Cole.
He's doing the same gimmick that he does now.
Oh, absolutely. I thought that was kind of hilarious. It was this is right before I started watching him, or maybe around the same time that I kind of became aware of him in Ring of Honor. And I can't say that his gimmick has changed a whole lot. Like his Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah,
he does the cocky heel thing, and he's been doing it since then. So.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
he was from
well.
CZW at the time. So, goes to show you how much he's progressed, Another good match. Eddie Kingston is just like one guy I'd not want to be in there with, If they told me I'd
beast. Eddie Kingston's a beast.
When you leave the ring, you know you had a hell of a match because he's gonna make sure he gets you. So that was a pretty good match too.
Adam Cole got in a good amount of offense, I thought.
Yeah, I think actually Adam Cole right away to start the match, I think dives right on him.
Jumps him.
Yeah, so he kind of like gets the opening advantage there to get him match. Kingston Kingston hits a back fist to the future for the pin at 7 minutes.
Which was solid. He was like on his knees at that time. I mean, that
was
it's a brutal back fist. I enjoyed that.
Definitely. Pretty good match. Kingston's a really good seller, and fans really bought into everything they did there.
Yeah, it's exciting, with the foreknowledge that he's going to take the tournament. So,
sure. And 3.0 of Scott Jagged Parker and Shane Matthews teaming with El Generico versus Fist, Icarus, Chuck Taylor, and Johnny Gargano. A 6-man match.
That was pretty
awesome
fun.
Trios.
Yeah, that was a fun match.
How could it not be? Yeah, I mean, just that. You just have to say the match and who's in it. It's just like, okay, well, that's going to be fun.
Yeah,
like doesn't really, unless somebody dies in the middle of the match, you are going to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot that happens in this match. It's a pretty lengthy match at 16 minutes.
Dude, I really liked when they took Icarus's track jacket and elbowed it.
Oh yeah.
And then Fist had an El Generico t-shirt, I always think that's funny. I pop it. With the people in that match, it's like you said, Ryan. It's like you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it really speaks for itself. There's some great comedy spots. It's freaking El Generico. Somewhere, oh man, about 42 minutes and 30 seconds maybe is the timestamp that I put down. Yes, you can watch El Generico do this great like move on the side of the ring,
yeah.
and it gave me a good hard laugh, and you can just imagine it, Sami Zayn, a certain unmasked dude doing that on Monday Night Raw. I think it might play a little differently.
Yeah, doing that to Kevin Owens or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the end of this match, Generico blocks the Alpha Waffle and eats the soul food, and Generico suplexes him in the corner. 3.0 follow-up with the sweet taste professionalism for the pin at 16 minutes, 41 seconds. So, good match.
Yep.
Yeah. Then we get into this Johnny Sane and Johnny Kidd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, World of Sport rules, which I don't really know too much about going into this.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I'm not gonna lie. I'm not very familiar with all this like World of Sport stuff because you hear people talk about it, right? Like, and they'll throw out names and stuff, or even like wrestlers will talk about it. I'm like, I'm not very familiar with it. I've tried watching it sometimes. It's really one of those things that it's very unique. I'll say that, but it's something I never like. I don't know. Never really clicked with me.
I haven't given it a whole lot of time as a viewer and like going back and watching old material too much, but I think like the influence that World of Sport has made, a lot of the high points of that in modern wrestling are some of the things that I enjoy the most. It's like Colt Cabana, Colt Cabana and Quack. I mean, so night 2 of this Chikara Rex event, this matchup moves into a tag team phase with those two as the kind of modern counterpoints, and I'll be damned. I mean, if those aren't two of my favorite wrestlers alive today.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think you hit it right there. It's like one of those things that I never really got into, or really like, I can't really sit and watch for hours, but a lot of that style is prevalent in a lot of the modern stuff. So I think and it was interesting. I watched this whole thing from beginning to end. Sure, I think it lacks a little bit, and it's just because of the people's age involved in this match. It's a little slower tempo, but I would imagine if this were like them in their prime, it would be like those moves. What they do would be even more impressive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You got to be impressed.
No, I was gonna say this match was 6 5-minute rounds. That's all. I was just gonna say.
Oh well, and I mean that's what the time limit was going to be. They don't go all 6 rounds, but. Yeah, it could have gone out that way. Man, you cannot discount Johnny Saint's toughness. I was trying to do the math, and I think he's like 69 at the time of this match. And there is a point where he takes a bump, man, a pretty serious bump. For someone 69 years old, I was like, wow, this guy is one tough nut.
Yeah, no, I think. For someone that old, and you have to be in someone decent. Like you have to be. I couldn't do that now, right? Like those rounds now. So that's really legit. It was fun. I think overall it was a fun thing to watch. Taking it for what it's worth, right?
Yeah, it's a different angle on wrestling than we're used to seeing, and it is fun. I always like it when it pops up in modern wrestling. And it was great to see it done by the Masters,
Yeah. Kid catches Saint in round 4 with a kneeling frog press for the pin. So Johnny Kidd wins. Good match. I mean, like we were saying earlier, I liked it, but it also depends on like how much you know what I'm saying, enjoy that kind of style. Like we were saying, you know, it's a good match though.
Yeah.
Match is a 6-women match.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, you excited for this one, huh?
That was interesting, but just you know, coming off of this most recent King of Trios, it's like, okay, we got women on women trios action. You got some of the Joshis coming over. Some of them I wasn't familiar with. So yeah, I enjoyed this match.
It was,
Sarah Del Rey.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you.
All right, let's do it. It's Mimi Shimoda of CMLL.
CMLL.
Fujimoto. That's what this says right here.
Damn, CMLL is Mexico.
I mean, I could have the wrong stats, but and it was something Fujimoto. Sorry, I can't pronounce the first name. And Portia Perez. Okay, Tsukasa. Portia Perez, who's now retired, versus Sarah Del Rey, Daisy Hayes, and Makoto.
Yeah. Makoto had like a figure skater type thing though.
Yeah, always good to see Sarah Del Rey, you know, who's now a trainer at NXT, which we talk about from time to time. She's really good.
Yeah, I say it anytime I can.
Yeah, and compared to the other people in that match, she looked like so much more imposing.
Yeah. I thought that Fujimoto did an awesome job. I felt like she really carried the other team. Shimoda, I felt like they were trying to kind of sell her as the leader of the team, but to me, yeah, Tsukasa Fujimoto really came out like really impressive to me. Makoto I was unfamiliar with, but I was a fan of her by the end of the match. I'll quickly mention that Daisy Hayes, who was one of the first women wrestlers I ever saw, I think on the Ring of Honor programming, like on HDNet, looked worryingly small in this match. It was kind of hard to watch when she was in the ring. I have no idea if she was healthy or not healthy or what may have caused her to be in that state, but definitely looking a lot like the smallest I've ever seen her. And she's always a small person.
And we briefly talked about that because I don't know like any background. But
yeah, I don't think it's worth like making a legit call speculation more than we don't know anything.
Yeah, but no, we did mention it to each other, right? So
yeah,
good match. I think Portia Perez in the main one, right?
Shimoda puts Hayes in the top ropes and hits the dragon suplex for the pin.
Yeah, exactly. Daisy takes the fall, which she leaves Chikara shortly after this and actually retires shortly after this as well.
Yeah.
Cool. 2 more are left on the show. We got Green Ant, who is decked out in Star Spangled Banner type.
Could not get more American than Green Ant on this day.
Yeah. And if you don't know about his whole like Flex Express here on his way to facing Tursis, you know, he had a whole tour like across America where he had some kind of like bus or something.
Copying Lex Luger.
Yeah, copying Luger. They had a bunch of videos and stuff like that back then when they did this live, of him like getting off the bus with the theme and stuff like that. So he's going to show Tursis how much he loves America. You can see the fans in the crowd have the little American flags. They're waving around throughout the whole night, you know. And then Jacob interrupts the Pledge of Allegiance that Gavin's doing. So, of course, Sabato's a new referee of this bout. which, if you don't know, Sabato's the heel referee in Chikara.
It's bought and paid for by the BDK.
By the BDK, which was the big bad in this season.
That's very lucha, though. That's very lucha.
Yeah.
And lucha, there's like heel referees and face referees too.
Yeah. So Green Ant versus the Monster Tursis of the BDK.
I love
Green
Tursis.
Ant.
Like, it just is such a fearsome guy.
Dude, this match was sneaky good in the sense, like, this is how, like, I like seeing matches booked between, like, a big dude and a smaller dude. Like, I think it was really good in how they told the story and made it very much believable in how the action went down. I really enjoyed that about it.
Yeah, and this story's been developing for a while, too. So, like, the crowd was really into it, like, with the whole USA America gimmick and everything, and
they were prepared.
They were all ready, you know, like, and it was just a real hot crowd, even though it was a small little building. But that's all it takes, though, man, is if everyone's on the same page, you know. It's cool. So that was a good match.
You can apparently get beer at this venue, which I noticed, and I'm like, oh man, I wish if they get beer in the Palmer Center, that would just really blow my mind.
Yeah, that place must be like a Legion Hall or something like that, maybe where they got the bar. At one point, he scoop slams him, or he does. He does do it, right?
He does it.
Yeah. Okay.
Very Yokozuna, Lex Luger.
Yeah.
The whole thing is very Yokozuna, Lex Luger. And I'm assuming Quack being a big 90s WWE fan, that's where this whole thing came. It was inspired.
Oh, I'm sure. So Jakob comes out, hits Green Ant with a tennis racket and the Rude Awakening behind Sabato's back. Tursis comes back in the ring with his help and drops Green Ant with the cruise bomb. Tursis pins him, but lets him up at 2. Tursis delivers top rope splash for a pin at 17:56. So Green Ant and Tursis looks pretty good in this match. You know, nice singles match between the two of them.
Yeah. And then this brings us to the main event, right?
Yeah, main event, which is another 12 Large Summit tournament match, Block A, which was Mike Quackenbush, who had 2 points in the tournament already, and Claudio Castagnoli of the BDK, who is now Cesaro on the WWE TV, who also had 2 points in the tournament at this point. So, really good match. If I had to say, if you could only had time for one match to watch in this show, if you weren't necessarily into the World of Sport rules, I would say definitely watch this match.
Those two guys have such good chemistry. Like in ring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me just say real quick, watching this makes me like really appreciate Quack and the stuff that he does, because like at one point, do you remember he jumped up on the shoulder of Castagnoli and did like the sick like backflip or whatever? He was literally probably 15, 20 feet in the air, dude.
He did that right off his shoulders, right?
Right off the shoulders, yeah. So like just that and the stuff that he could do, man, is really like it's mind-blowing, man. And if someone's never seen him, okay, let's just say this. If you're walking down the street and you just see Quack, you would never, and I'm not saying this is I'm not in a bad way, but you would never assume that he could do the stuff that he can do. And that, right or wrong?
Yeah. No, you're totally right.
I'm not saying that.
He has an unassuming look.
Yeah.
To the uninitiated, you know, I mean,
but
there's no reason to assume that this guy is lighting Mike Quackenbush, the master of 1,000 holds.
The master of 1,000 holds, and he puts on probably half of those in this match, I feel like, because this was a hell of a match. It was a 20-minute match, you know, and these two dudes, like we were saying, the chemistry between them is
dude, that's Cesaro, the Swiss death uppercut or whatever, the one where he tosses someone up in the air and then catches them with the uppercut.
Yeah, the European uppercut.
Yeah, he connects one that looks hellacious on Quack in this match. Yeah, it was really good.
Because a lot of dives outside the ring too.
Yeah. Or another good spot was the Cesaro when he has him on his shoulders, kind of in like a rack, and starts spinning around, and then he lets go, and he keeps spinning him around on his shoulders for a good like 5 seconds. That was like looked so good, you know.
Yeah, that
Just
was
perfect
really good.
execution. No, I mean it's like wow. You get two guys that are so advanced and just such great performers. That's a dream match. I'm like, it's awesome that we got to see that.
And Quack, I think said on Colt's podcast that has been his favorite opponent ever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's so capable. I mean, he can literally do anything. That's a guy. He's not too big, but he has the power. I mean, they call him the Swiss Superman for a reason. He has no limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he can work anyone, man. He's great.
Yep, and the match ends with Quack putting on a Chikara special and making Claudio tap, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Nice little good versus evil.
I will say another little fun part when Cesaro was using the stick that was on the U.S. flag, kind of like try to poke on Quack's head, kind of like Masada type.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And then John Barber catches him. So John Barber setting the piece or whatever. That's Larry piece. John Barber is the sheriff of Chikara.
That's right. He's laying down the law.
Laying down the law.
Yep. Self-appointed.
Anyway,
Oh, Muscarella was in the front row wearing a Choose Death shirt, if you noticed.
I didn't notice
A
that.
Necro
Didn't
Butcher
notice
shirt.
that.
You didn't see it? Okay, shout out Muscarella.
I saw there was a fedora guy in the front row for the hard
Was
game,
there?
and I thought it was Tate
Randito?
for a minute. No, a
Randito.
Fedora, a guy in a fedora, and I thought it was our buddy Tate, but I don't think it was.
We should track down Randito to do a show.
Get Randito on.
I'm down.
We got a lot of people lined up.
I know.
So
We need to
better
start.
We better start getting some stuff going here.
All right. Anyways, final thoughts on that show.
Good
Very
stuff.
good show.
Watch it.
Very good show.
3.0
I'm gonna watch
LA.
night too. Yeah.
I think it's been overall from the 5 episodes we've done, the best Chikara show you've seen.
Nice.
Okay.
That's what I in my opinion.
Okay.
I think it was the best one we've seen. Not to the detriment of the other ones, but I think this one was really good. I was entertained the whole way through.
Yeah.
It's definitely really
It's a good
solid.
show.
I enjoyed it. I can't say necessarily what order I would rank them in at. But yeah.
I
tend
think
to do that.
I don't know, man. I think that maybe Anniversario Never Compromise might have been the best show. So,
Oh, that's a good one too.
but I could be wrong. I don't know. They're all good.
They're all good. I think
Yeah,
in this
exactly.
one, I think in the moment I've enjoyed it watching it the most, preparing for this. So that's my vote. But anyway,
Yeah. Now,
No.
there's who chose next week? Ryan did, right?
That was me. Yeah, so we're going to do Cybernetico and Robin.
Cybernetico and Robin. What year is that from?
2007.
Oh man,
Thank you.
going back. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So
Back to the way it was.
we've got Chikara from 07. We've got ECW from 97. It'll be an interesting episode next week for sure. So that's that. That does it for the Chikara portion of this. It's time for plugs. Joey.
Yeah, real quick. This might be a shoot, but I kind of like Chikara Past a little bit better than Chikara Current. I'm just being honest.
That is a shoot, and I don't know if I agree. I'm really digging what I see so far for this season.
I like it.
I think it's like a lot of the nostalgia is cool, but I think this season has been solid.
Yeah. Big
Yeah,
fan.
I mean, I'm not like, it's just like, well, I guess watching old shows like the one we just watched with Quack and Bush, I kind of like get spoiled or whatever watching stuff like that. Because for me, like that's when I first got into Chikara was because of him and
Right.
Claudio Castagnoli and Sarah Del Rey and Aries and all that stuff with the BDK, and that's when I was like really getting into it. So like that stuff to me, man, holds up and always will. It was
The future's bright too, man. The future is bright. Just think about it, man. That
It's
wrestling
all good,
factory's
man.
got churning out a whole
yeah.
new generation of.
No, I know. I'll always support Chikara and
awesomeness.
everything, and it's just like for me, just watching some of the old stuff makes me kind of miss some, certain characters and stuff like that. But it's all good, man.
No doubt. Well, thank God for Chikaratopia. Thank Quack for Chikaratopia. Thank you, Quack.
You can go on there and watch, anything you want pretty much that they got up there. So, yeah, plugs. Here we go. We are on Twitter at Talkin Gimmicks. We are a part of a network. The probation period apparently has ended. Yeah, there's Talkin Gimmicks there. Soon to be named network, STBN Network on Twitter. We were supposed to get them a 4 or 5 page essay, I think, for initiation.
It's in the mail.
Oh, it's in the mail? Okay, it's on the way. But this is episode 5 in a row. So
I picked the slowest provider, and
okay.
I sent it with a carrier pigeon, so I hope it made it.
All right, so Jared, it's coming. Episode 5 of the probation period is over, so
yeah,
we are a part of the network officially. I'm on Twitter, Joey Shoots. Ryan, you're on Twitter, correct?
Yep, worldview without an L. Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Reach out to him. Reach out to me, Julio.
Yeah.
At JULIO_DA. Julio_DA.
Yeah, don't be
If
afraid
you're
to
a
reach
district
out
attorney.
Yeah.
I seek Julio for not legal advice.
I am technically a lawyer in Guatemala, so I do have a law degree that I could practice in Guatemala. So maybe.
Yeah.
If you need help from Julio, fly to Guatemala. Fly to Guatemala.
You have to fly me, and then I have to. It's a long process. You don't want that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you're just out of luck. Sorry.
Well, Longbox Heroes, let me shout them out real quick. Comic Book Podcast on Soon to Be Named Network. They come out every Wednesday, and every Friday they have a little bonus After Dark episode where they kind of just shoot the shit and talk about whatever's on their mind, at the week. And highly recommend those guys.
There's a good mix on Soon to Be Named Network. We've got Prodigal Sons. We do a lot of pop culture stuff. Puzzle Warriors. Which is a Marvel Puzzle Quest podcast. Of course, Longbox, Podvocacy, some more pop culture goodness. There's a little bit of for everyone on there, I think.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Check
so
them
with
out.
That said, we're done for this week. Now that we're off probation, we'll do one in another 4 weeks. We'll continue.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna quit for a while. We're going on hiatus.
This is the shoot. Now that we're off probation, we're going on a 3-week vacation. No.
Yeah.
We got an ironclad contract.
Yeah, we're gonna rebrand with an all new number 1 next week.
Well, WWE is gonna buy our video library, so
yeah,
making it large. All right, guys, we'll catch y'all next week and take it easy.
All right, I ain't going to Japan anytime soon.